You can find me in the drop top beds with the roof off, rolling up with all my friends. Cause I've been on the grind like Tony, and we 24 deep, taking shots like Kobe. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle.
Hello everybody, and welcome to another Archons Corner. Today, I'm Dr. Sheep, and with me I got, like usual, Big Z.
Hey.
Ewok Jr.
Hello, Keyforge community.
I'm missing Wookie.
Well, Wookie's been replaced this week, let's be very honest, by a much, much more handsome gentleman.
More interesting gentleman. So we got, what is it? CMINION is your username. What normal name do you go by?
I generally go by Chris, but CMINION's fine.
All right, well, Chris it'll be, because it's easier.
You caught that one. Cool. So, hey, thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you. So you're here to talk about KOTE, so that's where we're going to start here today. We've all mentioned here on Archons Corner, we've talked about KOTE just about every week. We always mention it's going on and playing, but now we got an organizer, somebody who can tell us what's really going on.
A lot of winging it. So, yeah, I'm the founder behind the event, which if you see we have our own weekly stream on a Tuesday. It used to be Mondays. And if you've watched that regularly, you already know the history, guys. So you guys, you know all the history of KOTE already. You've watched my stream, right?
Twice. You have a stream?
Yeah,
it's a bit, but we're not weekly participants.
No, it's fine.
His English stream is on that time zone where we're all commuting. So
Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you guys. I mean,
commuting to the basement?
No, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon for us, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, we also know intimately all 22 of our viewers every week, so. No, so the KOTE background came very simply. I was at a Vault tour. Do you remember those? Back in the day, last year.
Wait. Long ago, in a faraway place,
Spain.
I've heard about this. I've heard there was gatherings?
Yes, of 100 people or more.
No.
I even went to a couple.
Yes.
Yes. So I was in the Vault tour in Madrid, sitting there going, I'm gonna get my ass handed to me, and I did in every game I played. It was awesome. And this is the event where I met Slogans or Stuart Green, who's one of the big UK guys. And I just got chatting with him, I think halfway through the second day. I went, everyone's here with their team, and I was just part of a newly formed Keyforge team called Team Exalted. Why don't we have team-by-team events online so we can play with each other? And because of my day job, I travel around the world. I mean, I did 17 countries last year. And I played Keyforge in about 8 or 9 of them, if I could find a group. Interestingly, there's no group in New Jersey. Previous conversation we had before starting the stream. And he said, yeah, let's go for it. So I ended up meeting one of the Spanish groups from the Canary Islands, and we had the first ever, which we've now rechristened KOTE Zero, between Team Exalted and I don't even remember the name now of the team in the Canary Islands. And Team Exalted actually won an event. That's the only thing we've got close to winning since. And that was the format was born. And that was originally 2 teams. Does the format work? Does TCO handle it? Can we organize it all? And then after that, in about October, we started KOTE. And I thought, hey, let's get 5 or 6 teams together. We had 33 teams in our first event. A bit bigger than I planned for, and we are just breaking 76. At our highest, we were 83 teams. And when we say a team, for those of you who aren't aware, this is a team of 3 players. So that means we have about 220 players total in the tournament. And each event, we try and have a new set of rules and it's now working on the group stages. So we have players from 5 continents. This is the first time we haven't had someone from Australia since we began, unfortunately. But we've had total people from Africa, Australia, regular guys from Asia Pacific, obviously Europe and North and South America in droves. And the aim is just to bring these great communities that are so spread out together so we can play. And we aim for an inclusive first policy. So we have rules such as we will never charge for an event. Full stop. I refuse to charge for an event. Secondly, every event will never be sealed, because sealed is how stores make money. They are there to drive business to stores, We're not trying to make money. We're not trying to buy business, create business. We're just trying to bring people together. And so this is the dream we've had, and it's just grown insanely over the last year. And we're trying to work out where we're going to go next. So you guys, you've been involved since for the last 3 or 4 events, if I remember correctly. How have you found it? What's your experience?
I can start off. I participated in KOTE 3 and KOTE 6, and now KOTE 7. Originally, when I was in KOTE 3, I found it really hard to set up games because of the mixed time zone. So I took a break. And then when I heard that they were addressing that issue in KOTE 6, I came back. Enjoyed it a lot. My team just missed the top 3 to be in the playoffs. I think we were 4th because of just the way the point system worked, which I really like the point system. You can talk about that if you want. Since it's a little bit complex, but I do appreciate how it's done. Understood why our team was 4th. It made sense. And then I'm currently in the current KOTE 7. Dan's one of my teammates, and we are looking pretty good. I think if we win next week, we'll be in the top 4 lock. And looking forward to see what happens.
Great, and remember, my bribery levels are very low if you get stuck behind. But the key thing here is the scoring system. I'm glad you brought it up. We were always worried that we were going to have too many teams on the equal number of points. So we said it's the number of matches is the first order of magnitude, then the number of games, and then the number of keys. So, and regularly now we see teams that literally go through because their team has got one more key than their opponents. They've run the same number of matches, the same number of games. Each match is made up of 3 games. And it's just fascinating to literally see these teams at the end going, I need to just get one. If we get 2 keys out of this, we'll go through. I was like, so your objective is to just go and play and get at least 2 keys. And yes, and then they get 1, and you see them crying afterwards. I'm sitting there going, there's too much passion in this game. I'm not complaining, but it's just wow. I mean, this is way beyond what we ever thought we would do.
Yeah, but yeah, I've had a lot of fun. So
I'm glad to hear you're enjoying it, guys. I mean, we aren't perfect. We've made a couple of bad calls. We distant. We've done the usual. We've had to change the rule mid-season because of holy crap. Theoretically, that game would never have ended if we didn't do that sort of stuff. But we try to keep that to a minimum. And most of all, the most important rule for all of this is don't be an arsehole. And I laugh and say that, but at the end of the day, that is the message we're trying to be. Be inclusive, bring people together, have fun. Try not to get so involved that you're insulting each other's teams, and try and get your shit together so you can... I hope you don't mind me swearing, guys. I mean, try and get your stuff together so that you can play in advance. We always push for 1 game a week, no more per player. So each team will have 3 games over... It's now a 6-day period. 6-day period. But we'd like to think that's possible. And as you said, Z, the group stages we put in because half the people playing were complaining about time zones.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember that to be my only complaint about the organization, the structure, all of it. It was all done really well. Another thing, I didn't complain about it, or I didn't hear anyone complain about it. I did appreciate that the organization moved from Facebook to Discord quite a bit. Discord is just much easier to get a hold of people.
So I am the only person in the entire world who was against that move. I was wrong, I would also point out. Simply because I never really got on with Discord. I'm slowly getting there, but that's me being a Luddite. So,
to be honest, I never used Discord for anything prior to Keyforge, and now it's pretty much exclusively what I use for Keyforge.
Kind of wish I could get work to switch to Discord.
I mean, I like the channel system. I like being able to tag people. Like the way I don't know. I even like the fact that you could respond to a message with more than one emoji. Like the simple little things.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's worked out great, and I'll be frank. Most of the praise for Discord and me finally being told to let them try it goes to you All for One or Brett. who came in. He knew Discord from his previous hobbies, and he's the one who set up the whole Discord. He's done all the legwork in there. Yeah, I've built the bot. I've done all the coding behind the scenes. So I spent a lot of work that people don't see with like the Coat directory and the Discord bots, alerting people and reminding people to everyone's discuss 3 times a week, 6 times a week that they've got to play games. But Brett is the one who did all the legwork to make this thing successful on Discord, and all credit goes to him. I do miss the Facebook group page. It was so much easier for me in my selfish little bubble, but no, it was the right move to make.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I complained about. I just think that is a bit like something that's improved over time, and that was very recent. So
It's actually been half the life of the tournament. I think now it's been 6 months we've been on Discord.
Well, you had Discord
for
Cote 5,
where it really became mandatory that you can use Discord was recent.
Cote 5. So I thought it was Cote 4, but you're right. It's Cote 5. And also, I do appreciate you guys. You call it Cote, not Kote. I do really appreciate that.
I'm not Jupiter, so.
Oh, it's not. It's. I can tell you the exact person who said it wrong first on the stream was the stream I couldn't do because I had to go home to look after my wife who was ill at the time, and he just went Kote at the start of the stream, and it stuck for so many people since. And yeah, that's it. But so as you guys don't know, and because it's just to suit your American audience, time zone wise, every Tuesday we do what we're now calling the Coat Show. And so we got a regular following of 20 viewers, which is, to be fair, 18 viewers more than I thought would have. And in this, we're going to be talking more about Keyforge news as Dark Tiding comes around. We also go through the metrics of the decks in KOTE. So we're seeing, like, this week we went through which team had the strongest decks and the weakest decks, and looked at all those combinations. We've looked at the most common cards, and all these metrics are produced by Baguette and Chips, which used to be Baguette and Switch from France. And then we also have, every week we have a featured game. And the featured game is insane now. It's not just Brett commentating and me sort of occasionally adding a couple of words in, because Brett is way better at this than me. But we have the Can't Touch This guys from Poland do deck deconstructions of all the decks being played and go through and review all the decks, as well as have interviews of all the teams before they play and after they play. And it's just going to go, how did this happen? I mean, Brett has done all the legwork here. He deserves all the praise. I wish I could have 10 of him, because I don't know. Actually, I think we'll have more content than we could ever show. But it seems to be really well come across. And it's really interesting to see what other top tier players say about the decks before we see them, and what the Polish guys, how they think the decks will come out. And the best of all, one of them going, I think I sold this deck to someone one week. And we worked out, he's actually sold the deck to someone, or one of his friends sold the deck. So he recognized the deck. And it's just interesting to see this coming through. Yeah. And like everything we do, we always want feedback. We always want to make this better. We want to make this inclusive and fun. And fun is the most important thing here. Fun at no cost to anybody.
Was that on a dedicated KOTE Twitch stream, YouTube stream?
Yes, of course. I know exactly what that is, but I will get that to you to chuck in if you want to chuck in the link.
Yeah, we can put it into the show notes.
50-50. That's a Wookiee job.
That's fine. I'll just spam you every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And ban you if you don't. No, I mean, yes, of course. So yeah, we'll send you the link.
So a little bit of background. Dan and I both participated in KOTE a lot earlier, and you actually continued, Dan. And so I took a little break as I went back to school to teach. I think that it's been a wonderful opportunity. How have you come up with some of the different events as we look at each of the different KOTEs?
So the first real event was, shit, I need an idea tomorrow. What shall I do? How about this? Everyone says, yes, go for it. And after that, it started off with me just going, that's an interesting combination. And we do that. And then we got to the point we were in about, I want to say KOTE 5. And Brett went, let's do this. And I went, it's a bit complicated. It'll be fine. No, sorry, that's not KOTE 5. That's KOTE 4. Brett came to me with the World Cup idea.
Okay.
And then Crazy Killing Machine came to me about a few weeks later with the same idea. And I put this idea in place. And that became the grouping system that we have today. So again, for those listeners who aren't aware, we now, from KOTE 5 on 6 onwards, we now group the first half of the event by time zone. So at least the first half of the event you can play with just people that are at least in the same 8-hour time zone bracket. because of Big Z's making the obvious point of when he's playing people in Asia Pacific, bit of a bugger.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that first time I played, I had to set up multiple matches with, like Asia, like APAC. Like it was, I swear, two or three of our opponents were that way, and I was like, okay, this is rough.
I played most of my games at 5 a.m. on a weekday because that was the only thing we could schedule.
And I can go ahead and speak to that. As Sheep was our captain, you did a lot more of the legwork, so I appreciate that tremendously. Sometimes it was easier to get a hold of people on Discord, sometimes on Facebook. That to hear that slimmed up is really, really nice piece. Part of this, I actually really enjoyed actually playing teams from around the world because I think that's one of the unique components of Keyforge and being able to play online. So I like that aspect, but that was during the summer when I was off on break. We'll put it there. I was still doing plenty of work, but I had the flexibility to schedule. Once I'm back in school, I really like this piece where it's more in your time zone. It's just a lot easier to manage. But there's a little piece of me that misses. I think it was KOTE 5, Dan, that we didn't face a single U.S. team at all. We faced everyone who was international, but it brings in a different type of meta, a different type of game.
Exactly.
And so that was interesting for my part.
But there's two things here, guys. Firstly, the reason it stuck as an international event for so long is, and this is, again, selfishly from my perspective, I work in a job that covers Hawaii to AP. So time zones for me are like, it's 5 a.m., fine, I'll just get up at 4, put the coffee machine on. Well, I don't have a coffee machine, but you get the principle. So for me, it's never been an issue. And that was me selfishly not realizing that no one else in the world is stupid enough to do a job like me. And so this is why, again, Brett and the other mods beat me into this, let's say the group stage, and it really worked out. But the other thing, and not everyone realized this, because through utter terrible communication, me being too busy at work to do it properly, after the group stages, we don't stop. For anybody. We then go to a seeded cut idea. So if you want to continue playing against international teams, you can keep playing in your seeded cut. So the top few teams across all the groups, the top cut, and so on and low. And I expected to see a 50% drop. We only had a 10% or 20% drop. I think 20% drop total of teams in that cut. And it was, most of them are going, well, I've made a cut. I'm going to play even if it's at 2 a.m. now. And I'm sitting here going, it feels like I'm conning you almost because you're now doing the things you said you didn't want to do. But people are enjoying it. People are having fun. So many people were confused, and that one is on me. But hopefully we are going to be doing that again this time, and hopefully there'll be less confusion and as many people still continuing. And I think my credit goes to Keyforge Granada, who, on reporting their win of their second cut, not the top cut, the second cut, they wrote out the entire lyrics to "We Are the Champions," the submission form. I just look at this and cracked up laughing for 5 minutes.
I think that just shows we have an amazing Keyforge community. Your passion that you saw from the Vault Tour, that's exactly why the three of us are here. Exactly. The community that has existed, the community that is behind the scenes that's still playing is absolutely amazing. It's fun. It's a very inclusive group for the most part. And we have people who, frankly, are on many different time zones that are playing in these crazy times for their events. And I love that. And I think when there's a competitive nature, so when we get to that, I made this cut, which we have, we've looked at it and go, yeah, we're definitely going to go ahead and stick with this and continue. So I appreciate there's a lot of behind the scenes work that's being done to make this an active group, an inclusive group, and a really fun event. So you've turned that over time and time again.
Cheers, guys. And look, there's one more question I want to ask you guys, and then I'll let you get on with everything else. But we've put a lot of effort in KOTE 7 into getting our KOTE directory up and running in a way that is easier for us to manage and easier for you guys to search, find decks, look at the teams. Have you guys used it at all? First question.
Yes.
Yeah. Every week to find my opponent.
I'm on it right now.
Yeah, and I actually used it even early stages with KOTE 6. I used it extensensively. It was able to help me find decks, find my opponents, and I really appreciated that. So,
if you don't mind, I didn't work out which one of you, maybe it was Ewok Jr. If you're on it now, can you go to Sloppy Labwork USA's page?
As I say, I like how if you go to different teams, it has Well, there's this, but even more stuff here, all kinds of links, but it links to
I am on Sloppy Labworks page.
previous matches and videos you guys have done.
Well, we won't just limit it to the videos we've done. Any video as a team we will put up there, ideally from the code event. But what we're trying to get there is more of a homepage, a team reference page, so that when we get to code 10 or something and we get guys to the top place, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing people watching the previous videos to see their style of play. Sure. Because we're already seeing people practicing 10 times a week before their game. And I'm sitting here going, how time? I mean, I'm honoured that we're taking that much of your life. But if you guys and any of your listeners, I mean, what we've done with the Coach Directory, just to be clear, is we've got a section for awards. We've got a section for what events they've done. We've got sections for what their previous team names were, which was surprisingly hard but important we got there. Old games from the current event and previous events, video links, bios, current player lists. And I stress it will always be only current player lists, like a football team or baseball team or soccer team. That the players will change, but the team won't. And we just want to get as much there to be useful for people. And we're trying to get more and more featured games in there. Obviously, we're only deliberately doing one a week so we don't kill Brett, because I think if the one time he did 6, I think we all regretted it, especially him. So featured matches. But we want to just get the content in one place so we don't forget the past and we continue moving forward and learning. So, and guys, any feedback on that stuff, all keen to hear.
The only thing that I have found frustrating with it is when I go to like say House Sanctum, because that's house, that's a group I'm in, and I click on like my any team name, it doesn't go anywhere. It just says forbidden. That's my
well, we're working on that. That's a limitation of the hosting provider that CKM use, and so far I've tried 3 or 4 different injection hacking techniques to get around it. We have some ideas. It's hard because CKMM, we're part of the Crazy Machine Network. We're using them as our website host. Everything's fronted there, though it's running on a behind-the-scenes microservice environment with running off an a Google Sheet spreadsheet. If anyone's techie and wants to see the horrific code I wrote in
I can tell it's run on Google Sheets. Like that's like I use a lot of that too. I see that, but so I was curious as to why that link wasn't going forward. But that makes sense.
Wix doesn't like you embedding pages and routing between them to stop people faking up phishing attacks and things like that. And we just need to work out the easiest way to get around it. There will be a solution. We've tried 3 so far, but still we'll find the one soon, I hope. But yeah, we're working towards that. That's the next main aim I have.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would love to see an actual built-in search bar to make it a little bit easier. It's minor, but that would be something for me. And then being able to look back at previous coats. Just seeing the present one up is a little bit trickier to be able to locate some of the past information. But again, that's just how it's buried and what's kind of happening.
So minor thing. Previous information. Which previous information are you keen on? Are you interested in?
I guess going back into like let's check out the teams that actually were there for Coat 2.
We don't
easily find correct. And that all takes up space, and I understand that.
No. It's more the case that I deleted the spreadsheet by mistake about 6 months ago.
Yeah,
for 2, 3, and 1. So
that happens.
The winners are there. We've become less of an amateur outfit. We're just now slightly amateur, not very amateur.
Even just a splash page for the previous ones that list.
Was it a Google sheet?
List what the rules were. Because you can't even find the rules from the previous ones.
Yeah, what was the stipulation for each of the coats? So you can kind of see them and see the progression. That's kind of cool as a player going back.
I hadn't thought of that. That wasn't a Google Sheet. That was before to be fair, that's why I moved to Google Sheets from Excel. And it's posted anywhere. It was that it's harder for me to clean up half asleep one day and go, shit, where's my backup? Oh, shit, that was the backup. Fuck. And then continue from there. Again, I work in IT. I constantly tell people to back up their stuff and maintain it. And they don't, and I can give real world examples why they have to from my own screw ups. But that's the game. But guys, thank you so much for having me here. As always, forward to seeing you guys playing. If you get the chance, you're welcome to watch our stream. Please do. We are trying to make it as entertaining and informative as possible, and say as the more tidings and announcements come on, we want to do more and more, not just about Cote, but Keyforge generally. We're seeing how else we're going to do it, and we will happily advertise your podcast coming out or anything else, anything that we can do to help you. We've got artists are donating their time to us. We've got a musician who's donated her time to us. So we have custom graphic design, we have custom music. And one last thing, which I'd like to request, and feel free to cut this out if you guys think this is inappropriate. We are actually there's a couple of things I want to. First of all, is we are going to be doing a charity roleplay event on the 22nd of December, which is a Tuesday, where we are inviting people to buy a ticket and join in for a roleplay event. Brett is organising all of this. I'm not a roleplay guy at all. It's not for me. But the aim is to raise money for charity. I think it's Gamers versus Cancer, which is a UK group that donates money to one of the cancer charities here in the UK. I should know this. I was told yesterday. But please come on, sign up. Not only can you play, if you pay a little extra, you can bring your own deck, and your deck will become part of the event, or your own Archon, and they will become part of the roleplay that you're doing. And that's happening. So that's happening on the 22nd. It's going to go from 6 p.m. GMT till late, possibly beyond Wednesday, but we'll see how the interest goes for that. And the other thing I'd like to push is, and this is very much a begging request, is we have our graphic designer, Josie. Josie is based in Ecuador, and she and her family have just been have a family member in hospital with COVID right now, and unfortunately she's lost her job recently. So we're asking for people, generally those who like the KOTE event, but anyone who can spare $1 or $2, just to pipe it over so we can give us some money to help over the Christmas period, because they're paying for medication. They had to pay out nearly $200 for the COVID tests for her and her partner. And we just want to give them some thanks back to her for all the great work she's done. I mean, I've already wired her some money, but we've got about another $30 from other sources coming in that I'll be wiring over to her today. So if people are interested and have even just $1.50 or something, they can PayPal me. We'll send that over to her to help her get through this stressful period for her and her partner.
And just so we're aware, do you actually have links for either of that on Crazy Killing Machines Network?
They will both be with you as soon as I get off here.
Sounds good. We will go ahead and Wookie. We'll try and put that into the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. So, guys, I'm going to drop a bit of bed here, but thank you very much for having me on. Any more questions before I run away?
I think we're all done there. We'll make sure to send the information on and do our best to get the links out there.
I won't hold you to it too much.
And thanks in late. I know that the time zone difference is there, so we appreciate you being able to join us tonight.
I think you're just getting your own back for those difficult to organise matches back in the day. But yeah. Cheers, guys. Have a good luck with the show, and good luck with your matches this week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pros.
All right, so we move on to why we suck at Keyforge, or in this case, why I suck at Keyforge, like usual. And the thing I was thinking about today is that sometimes I hold cards when I shouldn't. This can often lead or be similar to last week's, where we were talking about forcing the combo. But it's not.
You brought this up earlier today, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes, I know it's a little similar to before, but to make it a little bit unique, I think we can expand it a little bit as why Dan and some other people might suck at Keyforge. It's not just holding a certain card. It's knowing when you should be holding a card and when you should not be holding a card, because that's really the same skill. Well, you're holding something for a reason or not holding it for a reason. You need to know what the reason is. So give them your example, Dan, and we can kind of debug this a little bit more.
I know it's one I've seen, and that's Tribute. And in a deck that only has one Tribute, you draw it early, and they don't have any Amber, so you hold it because you want that big play out of Tribute. So you just sit on it, and then what happens in those situations is you get to the point where it ends up being the only Saurian card in your hand. So then they go to 6 Amber, and your turn is going to be just to take them off check by putting it onto a creature that you then can't protect probably in some way, so they get it back. So you end up just chaining yourself for a long time, trying to get maximum benefit out of a card like Tribute, especially in a deck where it's kind of low Amber control, trying to count on it. So you get yourself into a position where you finally have a time to play it, but you have nothing to play it with because you held and you drew and you did not draw anything to go with it. That's that's one of the ones. And then the other one is something like a Coward's End. When to hold your board wipe and when to let it go.
Yeah, so like a big part of that is like how much of your win condition is that card and Tribute's one of those that is a real big trap early on because you don't know exactly how much amber that they're going to produce in the near future. But like, let's say, like if I have the Tribute in the scenario you said, your opponent has no amber. That means they're at 0 currently. So next turn, they might jump up depending on what kind of deck it is. But most likely, you're not going to get a big boom out of Tribute for 2 to 3 turns from then, depending on the type of deck you're facing. So in that case, you have to make that assessment. Is it worth potentially 3 chains? A lot of the times that answer is probably going to be no. Coward's End gets a little bit more trickier now than it ever was because we have MM and Worlds Collide both. Not necessarily they're bringing massive amounts of creature decks. It's they're bringing decks that if you don't answer the board once it gets established, you will lose very, very quickly. So Coward's End is a card that I think people are becoming to lose games and are quote unquote bad at Keyforge because they're starting to discard they're just as readily discarding their board wipes, just like they did in the old days where it was just the KOTE versus KOTE, I'm going to play a bunch of actions to win the game field. Whereas right now there are many decks that are coming at you from Worlds Collide and MM. If you draw that Coward's End on turn 2 and you just discard it like you always would have, discarding that card might have lost you the game because 4 turns after that, and yes, that would have been 3 chains, but if you're looking at 10 creatures and they're like Fandangle, Zenzi, Daughters, like this is going to win the game for them, and your answer is already gone. So it's getting a little bit more tricky as far as when to do that decision. I know we say it a lot. A lot of this does come back to like the reps with your deck matters. You need to know how your deck plays against certain boards. You need to know how important those board wipes are. You need to know how important that Tribute is. You need to know how important that Generosity is. But as far as like holding or discarding cards, a lot of that comes down to the deck list of your opponent, what you know your deck can and cannot do, and whether or not you can afford those chains. Ewok, have you come into any of those situations recently? I'm sure MM has definitely probably made you lose some games you thought you should not have lost.
Yeah, I think definitely being able to know the deck. I have a really bad habit of holding the card, knowing exactly the situation, but then getting down, I'm 5 turns in, and I'm like, I just can't hold this card anymore. And so discarding it, and promptly the turn after being stung by that card that I was actually holding it for. That is literally the worst feeling. So I highly recommend, if you have the foresight to see, hey, I need to hold this card for this reason, you gotta be able to stick through with your decision, whether that is good or bad. I've actually had games where it's come down and I feel that I've held that card the whole game and I've lost as a result. But I made that decision ahead of time, and there's a really good reason why I'm holding it. If it comes on turn 3, it is where it is. You got to be able to see how quickly can you move it through your deck, and then how valuable is that in the matchup. And I think that's a really important skill.
Yeah, that's also what you just said is also another important thing to highlight. Like what I just said, like, so there are many decks out there now that if I have only one board wipe, get it in hand too, that I kind of need it for that game or I know I've lost. So maybe me holding that card cost me 4 chains. It made some of my hands super lethargic, and in the end, I played it when I needed to, but in the end, I do lose the game. That just because I lost that game does not actually mean that decision was the wrong decision. So like sample bias happens a lot in Keyforge because like, well, someone will say like, well, I did this and I lost like that. So that does not necessarily mean what you did was wrong. You just lost the game.
Yeah,
This is why we suck at Keyforge.
certainly. So I was thinking about some other situations where knowing on holding cards, one of the things, I mean, like counting cards really becomes important, especially on holding cards mid game. Right, and I know it's a trap I've fallen into once or twice, and that's where you have something like your interdimensional graft, and you're looking to score big on it. They're at like 5 amber, so you kind of want to hold it. So you do, but then not thinking, you look at your deck and you realize you've already played 9 of your other Logos cards. All the creatures are dead, and you're only playing whatever's in your hand, so you're only going to draw 2 cards. So the chance that you draw anything else in Logos is super low. So that makes holding it way less valuable, unless you think they're really going to burst to 12 or something. But if they go from 5 to 7, and your next turn is just playing interdimensional graft to take that 2 extra, nothing else, it's another one of those bad turns. So you really got to think when you're holding, can I draw into something that's going to go with this? I think that's really my takeaway I've had lately is, holding this, am I just going to leave myself on a really bad turn later because I'm sitting with this and nothing to go with it?
And I know our next piece is KFPL. For the Triad, I had a wonderful round where I was up 2 keys to 0. And I'll tell you, afterwards, my first episode here was on tilt. And there was quite a bit of tilt from that event because I went ahead and I was up 2 keys to 0. And I could see that by turn 7, all of a sudden it's coming back. And I was playing essentially an AOA break deck. It had Ortano in it as well. I enjoyed the deck. But I was up and I'm like, okay, I have a full key to be able to get this break. However, the piece that was missed, and this is, again, me being able to see there was a key, there was a key cheat, and it came from Saurian, and it was use of Amber that was on creatures. So he simply went ahead and set up, used Tribute in order to tribute with quite a bit of Amber on a creature, and then use the key cheat. As soon as that happened, that piece that I was holding for break was completely pointless. And so by chaining myself, I hurt myself versus just absolutely rushing early on and pushing. There's a couple other cards that we looked at, but I think you have to be aware of, is there something that is going to go ahead and stop that key card that you're holding? Is there something that's going to cause issues? When you're looking at a board wipe, and they have the ability to ward up, you're counting on the board wipe. You've held on to it, and then they simply wipe, and then you're stuck with both a massive board plus a warded board. That wipe no longer is just enough. And so be aware of what you're actually facing. I mean, it takes a high level of engagement, but if you miss it, you miss it. And again, that's on player. That was on me for missing it, and there was quite a bit of tilt there. But again, that was my decision.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to fix something. What he just pointed out, something where I didn't mention earlier, but yeah, knowing, like, if there's something that completely negates what you're holding for, the longer the game goes on, the more likely they're going to have that device that can knock out your combo anyway. So in that instance, you definitely cannot afford to hold for almost any amount of chain. There aren't that many things that can ward the whole board, but there are. Like, Ancient Power exists, and the card that I originally thought was kind of meh, I've seen win games. Forge Compiler is a really swingy card. So that's something to be aware of, especially if you're relying on that one card to clear board, or even like massive steal combos. Like, I've seen people hold TMTP while their opponent has like Reassembling Automaton with Discombobulator. Like, you can't hold this card because there's a chance at some point of the game the card will be useless from that point forward. Stuff like that happens quite frequently in top tier play, because it's a top tier deck, because it has answers to common stuff. And steal, like, there's nothing more common than board wipes and steal. So like, it's gonna be something people are game planning against.
Okay, here's my next question for holding. How long do I hold my artifact control against a deck with an important artifact? Like a good Curiosaurus deck, a good Quixelstone deck, something along those lines. Like,
I think that entirely depends on if that artifact you're holding for is their win con or will immediately make you suffer huge. If you're holding for a jar and you have a 4 routine job deck, you probably hold it the entire game if you need. If you're talking about Quixel and your deck has 25 creatures, you again probably hold it the entire game if you have to. But outside of like some of those very few artifacts that will literally win the game for your opponent, I wouldn't. Like if I have a hand that's like 2, 3, 1, and the 1 is the like the 3 has the artifact control in there, I would probably call the 2 house, play those 2, trying to like get as much efficiency as I can for one more turn for the artifact to come down, even though normally you would want to call the higher card house. Stuff like that. I try to delay the amount of turns where I'm actually chaining myself to the full extent. I try to call more of the 2 houses if I'm waiting for a certain critical artifact. Because I know my opponent is not going to chain themselves. They're going to still play it as soon as they get it. I guess there could be some kind of like chess maneuvering or poker style play where like they wouldn't, thinking that you chaining yourself the rest of the game would be enough. But again, my analysis of this goes back to if it is that critical of a thing that they will almost automatically win, I hold it. If not, that's different. There's a whole other topic of why people lose at Keyforge is when should you just discard artifacts that you have in your deck? Because I've won many games due to my opponent playing certain artifacts. So that's a whole like that was actually one of the things on my list when we hit one of these topics one day. Do we have anything else on this one though? You walk, Dane?
No, I'm good. Let's go on to some KFPL Triad Treat recap.
All right, I got some details on that. As the one that does those for KFPL, this was our event 2. It was Triad 75 SAS cap, no heart because heart is horrible. So we had 110 people register. For every person registered, $10 was donated due to different people that supported the effort. We've posted KFPL's posted that in various places, so I'm not going to get into who those organizations are. But in total, because the person who won the event donated at the winnings as well, KFPL raised $1,400 to Doctors Without Borders. And I think as of yesterday that it has all been paid, so that was fantastic. And the big thing for Keyforge was 110 people. First place cash prize, even though it was donated, was $275. And that was Irie Daily. So here's the ranking. Irie Daily and Shreds, both from Hamburg Atlanteans, were first and second. Irie with the win. So that's some nice team representation. Then Siaka and One Star Peeps were third and fourth. Siaka's from ABR. I know One Star Peeps plays over there in ABR, but I don't know if he's officially associated with them. Fifth and sixth were Pock and Stronglink. Stronglink from Kip. Seventh is Mark Chung. He is one of our APAC players. And eighth place was S Viper. Not sure what affiliations Pock or S Viper have, but I do think Pock was also a APAC player over there from Hong Kong. I think I could be wrong. Usually, but yeah, we're keeping pushing. Our goal is 150 players a month. We are hoping to see that next month in January. January 9th is our next event, same time, Saturday 9th at 11 a.m. Eastern time, since all that's at Eastern time. And it'll be short adaptive. So best of one adaptive. Probably the singular format I have the least experience played, because it is not the same as adaptive. So that'll be fun. I'm excited to see what people end up playing, what they decide's best, who wins, because it is a very different. I'm be interested to see if we have the regulars make the top cut or a whole brand new slew of people. And I would love to see, some Team SAS folks in the top 8 for obvious reasons, because my team's kind of been sucking. But we'll see.
I mean, Echo Ito, who is on Team SAS, did go 6-0.
Yes, a Team SAS player did go 6-0. He was the highest seed in the event. And then his first match was unfortunately against Irie, who won the whole damn thing. So
now, on the other hand, I sucked out pretty hard.
Yeah, we had a lot of people play, and only Echo made it. My son actually was 18th, and he didn't make, because Irie Daly, who won the whole thing, was 16th slot. But yeah, my son was 3 slots away. We found the format to be super accessible to all the players because of the SAS cap. KFBL is trying to do every other month have some kind of limiting factor as far as quality of deck. Hence, this month we had the SAS cap. Next month, you can bring whatever you want. So there will probably be another limiting SAS cap factor when we swing it back around to February. I have a kind of a neat idea I want to run past the other KFPL organizers. But I'm going to wait for January to pass before I share the rest of that.
My experience at 75 SAS cap meant Untamed Rush. All I saw, well, now I only made it 4 rounds in, but all I saw was Untamed Rush. There's just so much Untamed Rush. And if they hit it, which my opponents did a very good job of hitting, I just watched them build a giant pile of amber, and I went, yeah, that is a pretty pile of amber you get to spend.
Yeah, I think we talked after Sheep, and we saw a lot of gimmicks at that 75, which was interesting. I don't know if that would be better if we went ahead and lowered the SAS cap. You find some different objectives, but I like the limiting factor. I thought it was very accessible for everyone, but it was very gimmicky, and if you hit their gimmick, you were kind of just out. And that was honestly, a little bit more of a bummer.
No, this couldn't happen for this event because we wanted to recognize both. But since they changed the SAS metascore into the SAS, if we kept it at 75, we would have seen quite a few of those decks would have been struck that y'all are referring to.
There was a lot of decks that, with new SAS, most decks were over 75, I bet. I mean, I didn't see the metrics, but I would guess over half the decks would have been banned under the current 75.
Yeah. One of the decks my son was playing went from a 73 to a 78, which I'm happy because I own the deck and it's finally getting some recognition for, it was one of my decks, how good it is. The deck started as an MM deck at 66, is now a 78. So, SAS is getting better at recognizing that deck because that is one of my best MM decks. So that part's cool, but I do think just keeping it 75 as the SAS tool improves over time, I still think it super undervalues Brobnar and Sanctum because it always will, because the owner of DOK hates those 2 houses. So it just is what it is. That's not going to go away. That said, I don't think Sanctum or Brobnar were represented in any of the decks I saw played in Top Cut.
I saw a lot of Untamed and actually a lot of Mars.
Yeah, Mars was popping up here and there, but again, when I was doing the videos for watching with Jupiter on the Top Cut, I didn't see a lot. I saw a lot of Saurian in the Top Cut.
Yeah.
But again, those decks I was looking at, I'm pretty confident are over 75 now because their metascores are positive, which means a lot of those decks went up above 75 right before the event started. So I think the 75 is still a good number, especially now that the metascores have rolled into those decks.
I think so. Some other feedback. I felt that the early part was a bit clunky, just being able to get in. I know that there were some issues because we were over 100, so went to the Twitch stream versus actually using Discord. Mm-hmm. The other piece with that is just making sure that, Jupiter, I love you, but you got to turn the music off, man.
Yeah, I heard the feedback.
It was really distracting for a lot of people. So
I think we're going to stick. That's also one of the reasons why we had some feedback from the November event to make sure that all of the rules, all of the stuff that we were talking about in that Twitch stream was typed in the document already, because we have some language barriers going on. So I think that helped. Everyone did have the full recap of what was being said.
I thought
we'll make sure the music is turned off this time.
Yeah.
I don't
and
know.
I want
why.
you to know, Z, that I felt that was actually really easy to read. I guess maybe a small minor piece is if we can put like the discussion will happen from roughly this time to this time and put a 15 or 20 minute gap, because we did have players who would kind of pipe in and say, hey, we're playing. And we're like, no, the discussion's over here on Twitch. So that might be something, but I
saw
really
a little bit that I'll try to address that again. I thought we did. Well, I know what happened because I had messaged everybody that we were going to meet in the voice chat.
correct.
But then once we got over 100, that couldn't happen. So
But I have to say, it was really nice to read the rules ahead of time to see it. It was clearly lined out. I did have, as we counted down that 5 minutes, there was a little extra pressure. I seemed to find myself always on the top. So locating the opponent, being able to bring up the piece. I thought the strike website worked out well once my opponent came in. That first game, my opponent simply did not show up. So the whole 5 minutes, we're talking, I was waiting, and the response was, oh, we're going to start now? Like, they had no idea. And so when Jupiter actually counted down, I'm like, yeah, my opponent's not even here yet. Not even, like, into the web browser. But again, that's a 1 out of, there were 2 of us out of 110. I thought that you guys were very fair and that you let him be able to get in. We could strike the decks. It did impact, and I would like to see the shuffling of the decks versus just who you're lined up with, because we keep seeing the same person. And so people do plan a little bit. But I also know from an organizational standpoint that it's easier just to not shuffle the decks when you're trying to load them in. So that's honestly it. I had a blast.
Shuffle the decks when you load them in.
I mean, shuffle the players?
Yeah. So when you shuffle for challenge, because we have a couple people who are looking at it ahead of time, and then they have extra time to look at the decks or to plan to. So you're not looking at, I mean, if you're saying, hey, we have 5 minutes to look at the decks, that's fine if everyone's taking 5 minutes. But there were individuals.
That's something I'll have to look into. I don't even know if we can at that stage, because I know we can before the event in Challenge, which didn't happen for November, which I made sure happened this time. But once they're paired, unless we back out of it due to a drop or something, which causes other issues sometimes, I don't think it lets us shuffle after the auto roll, which is another reason why we have a placeholder that someone that doesn't report until we tell them to. That way we control when the next round starts, which we learned a long time ago through the qualifier.
And again, that's a minor piece.
Yeah.
I thought it was run after that first round where there's a few hiccups. Everyone knew what to do. We were able to open up the websites, be able to go ahead and have the strike kind of conversation. And considering you were trying to actually look at 3 decks and to strike a deck, I thought it worked out really, really well. So well done on that part.
Oh, thanks. But I'm enjoying running it still. Like the monthly cash events is my big thing. I know season 1 for the KFPL is finishing shortly. And then we're going to get people qualified for season 2. Season 2 is full classic triad. We'll be talking about that a lot. Stuff coming y'all's way shortly. But right now we're just focused on finishing season 1, and if you want to play short adaptive, you better start practicing. I think this is one of those where practice will hold a lot. I think it's the practice of any specific deck is more important than the deck itself for this type of event. But honestly, I'm not sure. I'm going to start practicing myself, even though I can't play in it, just for fun. And I'm going to help out my team practice as far as that goes. But it's going to be interesting to see who does well in this, because I think it's going to be a new skill test, a new way to play Keyforge, which it's been around for a while. It's just there was obviously never an official event with it because it's not an official format. So, all right, what we got next?
Next, I got some announcements for Archon's Corner. So we have 2 things we've got planned now. So starting on Tuesday nights, same time as we normally run events, so that's 8 p.m. Central Time. I will be on every Tuesday, do practice for most likely what the next KFPL cash tournament is. In this case, starting next week, I'll be there practicing my adaptive short skills. I'm hoping some of the listeners will join, and Z and Ewok will join if they're free as well, so we can get more practice in. If you don't have a team, good place. You can come and practice with us, hopefully, so we can keep getting better at whatever next big tournaments come.
Yep, and I will be sure to that. All right. Now your thing, right?
Yeah. So then we're excited to announce the Archon Corners daily closeout. So we finished with the dailies, and kind of to celebrate the end of it, we're going to run a sealed event. This is a pretty special sealed event. Through the store that is letting us run chain bounds, they were able to get 4 leaderboard 2 kits. So that's 48 leaderboard 2 decks. They're World Collides decks with alternate art cards. What we're going to do is run a $30 entry sealed. And for that $30, you get entry into the tournament. You get 1 sealed KOTE deck, 1 sealed Mass Mutation deck, and everybody for participating as a prize also gets 1 of these leaderboard decks. So we're hard capped at 48 players because there are 48 leaderboard decks. You're then so the night before this event, which is scheduled for January 2nd, the week before the next KFPL. So the night before, Ewok and I will be working on sending out deck lists to everybody. So everybody will get their deck list the night before so they can pick 2 out of those 3 decks for a 2-deck survival. So you'll be able to play your leaderboard deck immediately. We'll be sending pictures of the Mass Mutation decks with the icons. So you can make your best choices. And then starting January 2nd at 10 a.m., we'll start playing games. And we have prizes galore for this. So a little bit based off of entry, if we get to all 48 players, in addition to 7 play mats, 10 sets of the special OP cardboard tokens, so disc sets and shadow sets. We got some metal keys, we got metal tokens. We'll also have 4 more sealed KOTE boxes to get. There's quite a lot of prize support in an event that really doesn't cost anything more than the 3 decks you're getting anyways. It should be pretty exciting. We're going to give away a lot of stuff. We're going to get to play some fun sealed Keyforge. And then after the event, the hard part will be organizing with me to have your stuff shipped to you, because those shipping costs will be done separately after the event. But registration for that will be opening after this podcast release to the wide world. So I hope it fills up quite fast, because it's pretty rare to be able to get a leaderboard deck these days.
Yeah, I'm going to sign up. I don't know if I'll be able to play, but I'm going to sign up, and somebody might get 2 wins against me.
Well, and I believe everything is very well laid out in your Google Sheets. You have the link to Kryptonite Collectibles. So that's actually where you're going to be going ahead and clicking on the link and then basically paying to Kryptonite, because they have been supporting us this whole time with Chainbound.
Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely to help that store out and generate them some funds. So I pretty much straight up stole that KFPL Google Doc that Z had made and turned it into one for this event. Because I agree, I thought that was as well laid out, pretty easy to follow. So I stole it, and now I'm putting it together to run for all the information for our sealed. So yeah, it's a pretty simple registration. You got to go to the Kryptonite site and pay the $30 directly to them. And then you fill out a Google form with your name and information so we can track what's going on. And then you just got to send me a picture of your player ID, because this is going to be run through Gem software, because Gem software actually has the best 2-deck survival software. Trying to run Survivor in Challenge is a nightmare. Double elimination doesn't work like you want it to for this. So we'll be running it in the Gem software instead. So I'll need player codes. But we are going to let you scan your decks the night before, so I'm not going to run it as a sealed. So if anybody accidentally scans their deck, it's not going to be a big deal. Once you get those decks, you can scan them. If you need to use decks of Keyforge as an assistant in picking decks, so be it. But we're going to let them just all scan beforehand, so it's just a lot easier, and timing doesn't become an issue on that.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I like survival, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, that should be good. And we're going to run it 5 rounds and then do a dead cut to top 8 and then do single elimination from one of your remaining Survivor decks. So very much like the Survival Vault Tour in 2 decks, and cut down a little bit shorter because it is a Saturday. and it is sealed, and I don't want to be there until 10 o'clock at night. So at 45-minute rounds, 8 rounds, it should not be too. Really get through them pretty quick. Yeah, we're excited to have our first, fairly serious Archons Corner tournament in a very long time. We hope you all come and join us.
And we do appreciate all of those Patreon backers and all the people who've been with our dailies. I mean, we threw up, was that over 300 different dailies? Definitely over, there were quite a few.
It was about 200 by the time, but somewhere in the mid 150s, 160s is when we started to kind of peter.
That's pretty crazy to be able to see that, we thought it would just be something to help keep us tied over as this pandemic started. And as a result, to go almost to 200 days, very well done. So we appreciate everyone who participated, and we appreciate all those listeners who are out there.
All right, what else we got to cover? Our bit of the most positive Keyforge news we have seen in months, which was one little Facebook post from Aaron on, I have no idea where he posted it. I just saw some screenshots of it on Discord, but he said Keyforge is alive and they're working on it. So makes me feel much better. Like, really, just that amount of information really changes how I feel about what's going on in FFG. Any amount of confirmation that they're doing something. And he says in the next few weeks we should get rules updates as well. Another thing that is needed and positive to hear that we're moving towards there. So that really makes me feel much better. Even just seeing just a little post from one of the developers saying, yeah, we're doing stuff. COVID's making it rough, but we are working.
I think it's the acknowledgement that they understand that COVID sucks and it's out there and it is affecting them, versus the black hole abyss of nothing that we've had for however long. I think that's what I always assumed was going on, but just getting something out there and then hopefully to see the rules update come out whenever it comes out will be encouraging. Obviously, we haven't had a rules update since the release of MM, which was the end of June, the last day of June, the first day of July, or whatever it was. So yeah, this is good news. I'm still buying decks, still playing Keyforge. I'm still excited to have fun with the game. I am going to at some point be talking to Cloggins his name.
Yep.
About like some new player reach out initiatives that we would be. I can't run anything else Keyforge related because I'm tapped, but like maybe we might be able to bring him on and help us do some stuff to reach out to new players. But that is something that I'm going to look into for the future.
Yeah, we're definitely here at Archons Corner. We are interested in keeping this game going and moving forward, which is why we record every week. So if anybody has any other thoughts on things that can be done to build Keyforge, not just thoughts, but some real initiatives that can be acted on, I'm all for hearing them. Yep.
Or even like Cloggins has some ideas, and I have some things that I think would be good. But again, I personally don't have the time because I'm doing this. I'm doing KFPL. KFPL does take a lot of my time these days. And then I do still have a team that I practice and actually play in events with occasionally. So I'm a bit tapped. But even if you don't have necessarily ideas, but you would like to help, reach out to me, let me know, and if things go well, I might be able to put you in touch with someone that will help direct your effort. With endeavors coming forward in the future. All right. But I think that's all we got today, right?
Yeah, I think so. That's our show for this week.
Main recap is KOTE's pretty fun. It's growing. It's getting organized. Tons of people. Don't hold cards when you can't afford to, and hold cards when you must. And it's going to take some reps to know what when is which, but that is a big part of Keyforge and not sucking. And the triad was super fun. Lots of money was raised for Doctors Without Borders. Next KFPL event is January 9th, short adaptive. And before that, we have a sealed Survival event, January 2nd. And you get a leaderboard deck just for entering. So $30. I'm sure we're going to try to get the links up to the appropriate places. It's all done through a Google Doc on our Discord channel. If for whatever reason the links do not go up with this cast.
Yeah, so definitely come to the Discord if you want to join. That's going to be the easiest place to find the link.
Yes, I believe all the information is pinned in our Archons Corner Discord in the QD Champion. Nope.
That one's private for just QD Champions. So there will be its own channel for the sealed where you'll be able to find all the pins.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know where it's pinned. But either way, it will be pinned somewhere in our channel.
All right, well, thanks everybody for listening again, and hopefully we'll be back next week for Keyforge Insights.
Ooh.
Take care.
24 deep, taking shots like Kobe. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. You can find me in the drop top Benz with the roof off, rolling up with all my friends. Cause I've been on the grind like Tony, and we 24 deep, taking shots like Kobe. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. Mama told me slow down, she know I'm going in now. I live a rock star lifestyle. The smart.